Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. This is the Wanneroo channel. Today we are going to wrap up our Reloading 32 ACP project from the winter. We are going to go through and cover lessons learned and what I like, what I don't like, and all of that. Thank you for everyone who stayed through and watched it to the end. We had a pretty good view count at the beginning, but through the winter, the view count dropped off quite a bit. And really the numbers are, pretty small in terms of the actual views in the video. So definitely in the future, I'll have to kind of rethink things in terms of possibly different projects that we do or won't do. But I'm hoping that as years go on, those videos will be durable videos that for those that kind of come in the door looking for, information on Reloading 32 ACP, hopefully they'll get some value out of those videos over the years and, they'll be worthwhile for someone. In terms of taking it from the top here, what's the first thing that I learned? Well, first thing is that with such a small case here, small changes, they can make big changes. And that was something that we saw in all of the testing, regardless of what powder we used. And also, too, with our primers, those made an impact as well. Definitely with these S&B primers, they seem a little bit weaker than my typical CCI primers. So what little data that we did have kind of coming into the whole project, certainly the results that we got didn't kind of add up with other folks. Now, they were using different primers, so I think that was probably the deciding factor. So that is something to be aware of. If you load 32 ACP, it does seem, because of the small case, it does seem to be sensitive to little swings, and we definitely saw with the powder too. Moving about 1/10 of a grain, as I recall, I think on one of them, that was shifting at like 100 feet per second. So certainly something you have to kind of look out for. In terms of like measuring the powder and everything, the RCBS, can't remember the exact name they call that powder drop, but it's their standard powder measure. That seemed to work pretty good. I did, with tight group, I had to fiddle fart around with it a little bit to kind of get it dialed in. Exactly. Accurate number 2 is a bit better on that. We'll get to that in a minute. But that is something that you guys need to watch for if you're loading 32 ACP, is that, that just seems to be a lot more sensitive compared to, say, loading something like 9mm, where you might have a whole grain or more of a spread with your powder that you can kind of play with. It was definitely much less between being minimum and then probably getting over the maximum. So that is something to kind of keep in mind with all of that. The next thing also too is that the brass, yes, it is a little bit fiddly. I'd heard some people mention it before in terms of handling these small little cases. I didn't have too much of a problem with it, but definitely it was kind of a little bit of a pain compared to a much larger case like 45 ACP. So if you've got big meaty hands, yeah, it's a little more of an issue. The other thing too, in terms of the brass being fiddly, and there again, going back to some of the sensitivity, is also too, one mistake I think I might have made was I overdid it on belling the case, and it ended up working out okay, but I think next time I'll have to watch that a little bit closer. And believe me, whenever I was setting up the die, I was trying not to kind of go over or overdo it, but I think it probably was maybe just a bit too much. Like I said, it ended up working out okay with the seating, the bullet, the crimping, everything. Everything was fine, had no problems. But I think I could dial that back down a little bit. So that is something also to kind of keep in mind. The other thing is Starline brass. One thing I will say is this brass here, I think it's good value for the money. And pretty much as far as I know out there today, there may be some other manufacturers, but there's not, in terms of what I would say consistency, in terms of availability. I think Starline brass is probably the go-to brass company. And I have to say, over time, using Starline brass and other reloading projects is that I think for value for the money and the quality that you get, I think Starline brass is a pretty good bargain. And I just think, in general, I have just found the consistency to be excellent. I'm trying to think of like if I've ever seen like a dodgy case or something that was just way out of whack, and I don't recall seeing that. So their brass, I just think is wonderful, and until I kind of see otherwise or experience otherwise, at least I'm recommending it. And like I said, the consistency's there. One thing that we did kind of know about 32 ACP is that the Europeans and Americans, we kind of see things differently in terms of the sizing. This is basically made to what I guess you would call American spec, in terms of design to kind of deal with the .312 or .313 size bullets. So probably like in terms of the Berry's bullets, probably your best match is to go ahead and have the Starline brass. But again, I think it's good value for the money. The next one is the powder. Now, I tried 2 different powders this winter, and Tight Group, I thought Tight Group did fine. I like Tight Group a lot. I enjoy using it in 9mm, and I enjoy using it also too in 45 ACP. It goes a long way. It's very economical. I think at the end of the day, though, just my seat of the pants feel and kind of just some of the data too. When you're, it's one thing you do have the data and stuff, but also too, like when you're actually shooting the gun, just kind of that seat of the pants feel in terms of, how everything is just kind of meshing together when you're shooting your reloads. I think I would say the Accurate #2 kind of edges it out a little bit. And at the end of the day, with the Accurate #2, the one thing I think that you're going to find is an advantage for reloading these small cases and setting up your powder measure is this is a very, very fine powder. The Tight Group is a little bit bigger, certainly nothing like unique or anything like that, but the size of the grains are a little bit bigger. And this is just a very, very fine powder, and I think probably I found just, it didn't take me as long to kind of set up or make my powder adjustment changes with this. And it just had the general feel that it just shot better than the Tight Group. And as I recall, I think the numbers were a little bit tighter as well. And I think maybe the accuracy was a little better too. But overall, the Accurate #2, going forward, I think I'll probably stick with this unless someone else can present something better that's going to work better than this. So I'm always open to suggestions. Like if people are like, yeah, this is, it's a killer over Accurate #2. If people can come up with something better than this, then you kind of go, okay, well, we'll take a look at it and we'll do it. At least for right now, very happy with this, and it worked really well. Next thing is that in order to reload 32 ACP, a big problem out there in general is there's a lack of everything compared to like 9mm. There's a lack of components, there's a lack of data, there's a lack of experience out there with it. There's kind of a lack, I think, too, of consistency in terms of maybe the way Europeans size things, the way we size things. And there's just not that much in the way of components out there. And one thing I do have to say is, I've never been like a big plated bullet fan, but I think to load 32 ACP in an economical way, and also too, for those of you that are out there, the thing I always kind of look for when I do these reloading projects is I don't want to necessarily use some sort of weird bullet that, is hard to get a hold of, and the supply constantly comes and goes, and you're trying to track it down all over the countryside. And so, if I do like a certain reloading project for the audience or for myself, I'm kind of thinking about maybe what you guys have to go through. And availability is kind of a big thing. And one thing I have to say with these bullets is that I have not had any trouble finding these anywhere. I also have been to like multiple Cabela's, and these are always sitting on the shelf. Looking online, they're always available online as well. The other big advantage with these as well is that the price is pretty much unbeatable. I think for the price I ended up paying, I paid 8 cents a bullet. You factor in amortizing the cost of your brass over a period of time, as long as you don't lose it. I always seem to lose a piece or two every time I go shooting. But as long as you kind of, like I said, amortize that brass, the cost of that over time. If you get primers cheap enough, I know that's a big issue these days. But for those of us that stocked up back in the Trump years, we're pretty much set. I know for a lot of y'all, finding primers is difficult and expensive. So the prices on those are going to vary quite a lot. And one thing I'll say with that too is that if you made the mistake of not stocking up before, next time prices are cheap, what are you going to do? You're going to stock up, okay? So these bullets here, fantastic bargain. I had no problems at all seating them, shooting them, no reliability issues. The accuracy seemed to be decent enough with them, and really just no problems at all. And for the price, you just can't go wrong, I don't think. So I think for me, shooting 32 ACP going forward, these are definitely kind of a go-to for me. I don't personally shoot lead bullets. I had a lot of lead exposure whenever I was younger, shooting small bore rifle. So I take steps to try to limit any lead exposure that I can. So I know a lot of people shoot cast lead and all that, and they can definitely lower their costs. So if that's something you want to do, you can go down that route if you so choose. I think for the average person out there, though, these berry bullets, they're going to work just fine. So again, if people can come up with something that's better than this, well, I'm all ears. But at least for right now, that's kind of the best that I can do. So very happy with that. So one last thing too, in terms of, well, where is this kind of going in the future in terms of 32 ACP? Well, we are going to take a break from it once I finish loading up the last brass that I have and the whatever Remington bullets I have, and kind of getting that done. We have a nice box here of the bullets we've loaded up with the berries bullets here. I think in terms of a reloading project with 32 ACP, I think what we need to do next time is we actually need to load these bullets here with the accurate number 2. So these bullets I loaded with tight group, and then we did Remington bullets with the accurate number 2. I think what we need to do is pair both of these up here and do a project on that and kind of see what we come up with at some point in the future. The other thing is I have some 85 grain bullets that we did not get to this winter, as folks have told me, and I was pretty much kind of aware of. I believe they're for 32 caliber revolvers. I was kind of curious to see if I could get them to work in the Beretta. So maybe it's something I'll try. I don't know how successful that will be, but we can give it a try. The other thing too, for y'all out there in the audience, if there is information that you guys have in terms of, hey, you should try, this is a powder I've used, you should try it. Hey, this is a widely available bullet that I use. You might be interested in trying that. Feel free to put suggestions down below. Definitely in terms of the future, whenever we come back to 32 ACP. The plan is right now is we're going to take a break from it. And probably we're going to take a break through the summer. I have a 300 blackout project going on. I have a bunch of 9mm projects going on. I have a ton of filming to do on all sorts of different projects and topics. And so this is something that's going to have to kind of go on hiatus there for a while. And also to give it a chance to let the view numbers catch up, because, with just 30 people watching a video, and the numbers kind of fall to that. It's something where I want to see the numbers kind of catch up a bit, and to where we at least get over 100 views per video. You know, otherwise I have to kind of focus on, you know, other stuff that people, you know, want to watch. But I know there's a small group of folks out there that are interested in this stuff, so that is good. You know, I'm definitely not going to kind of give it up or anything like that, but, you know, there's other considerations too. But we're going to do 300 blackout for a while, and I have a ton of other projects that I have to do, and it's going to be spring, it's going to be summer. I want to do more shooting than reloading. That's typically what I do in the summer, is try not to reload as much and do more shooting. So tons of stuff to do, but we will come back to this, and probably, because what's going to happen is through the summer I'll be shooting all these up, our brass will accumulate, and it'll be time to get into in the fall brass prep season and start to kind of prep all the brass and get it ready for the winter. And we'll come back and we'll do another project. The other thing too that I would like to do is I'd like to get a CZ Scorpion. I'm talking one of the old school ones in 32 ACP, so I think that would be fun. Whether or not I can pull that off anytime soon, well, we'll see. I don't know. But anyways, I have had a lot of fun doing this, and also too trying to do it in film as well throughout the winter, and the winter weather definitely given me some issues. So I appreciate the support from y'all, and I hope that y'all enjoyed the video series and you got a lot out of it, and you know, you enjoyed watching it. And also too, I'm working on improving the channel as well. So I'm trying to improve everything with the filming and all sorts of stuff as well to make it a better experience for the viewer, and all that. So believe me, I'm working hard on kind of leveling up the channel the best I can to make it the best it can be with what resources I have. So you know, anyways, hope you all enjoyed it, and I had fun doing it. Hope you all had fun watching it. We'll see you next time.